Smile and welcome to lesson 15, how to calculate assumption is our glue. In the previous lessons we have seen that calculation exists of constantly looking for candidate moves for both ourselves and our opponent. We have stressed the importance of the idea of falsification, which states that you should put your moves and ideas to the test before playing them. The value of your move lies first and foremost in your opponent's next move, and of course, so on, the value of your opponent's move lies first and foremost in, then again, your move. Okay, but how do we find all these candidate moves? Well, we have seen that a tactical and/or positional breakdown is important, so that at least you can find moves that are in accordance with the position. But since we are not computers and cannot rely on so-called brute force when calculating, we humans have thought of something else to cut through the thicket of analysis trees. And that's what we call assumption. Now, assumption is what makes us humans find a way through the melee of possible variations and is designed to keep all the paths and branches as narrow and contained as possible. I suppose there are different kinds of assumptions, but by means of a small in-between quiz question, what do you think is the most common and important type of assumption? You get 3 seconds, and of course you can pause the video for as long as you like. Well, it is the threat. Have you noticed how often we work, or should work, with the concept of thread? The thread with a T is often our thread with a D through the tree of analysis. It is a very useful tool because it narrows down the possibilities of the opponent. Well, at least in our minds, that is. Because every assumption is a risk by default. That's why it's called an assumption, right? Otherwise, it would have been called a certainty. Now, this is also the reason why you are often taking some kind of risk when calculating, because along the way there will have to be some assumptions. Therefore, your calculation needs to be spot on, especially when you are burning one or more bridges behind you with a certain action. Anyway, this assumption part of calculation is what you can always try to improve. One of the most important character traits to develop here is being critical of moves and ideas. Again, this reminds us of the idea of falsification. Try to develop a mindset in which you question things. Now, with practice you will get better at assuming, and you will also learn to differentiate real threats from ghost threats, and will also start to use other kinds of assumptions that are not really connected with direct threats, but can be based on more general considerations. Also, you will of course learn better when to question things and when not. Okay, we are now going to take a look at 6 positions in which we will highlight assumption in calculation. Well, before you see a position from a game that I played with black against Thijs Laarhoven way back in 2007. And Thijs' last move was rook d1 attacking my queen. And now, well, I took a dive into the thinking tank, or should I say calculation tank. And I came up with a very nice concept here. But in the end it turned out to be incorrect, because of an assumption along the way that was incorrect. The correct move here to play was not queen b6, because that loses the bishop to queen e7, and now I can try to regain the bishop on e2. But after queen h4, which attacks my bishop on g4, I don't really have time to take this bishop, because then again white will take my bishop on g4 and will remain a piece up. So what I should have played in this case was queen c8. Now this prepares an attack on the c2 square, but it also protects this vulnerable bishop on g4, as we just